What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Little change of scenery today. I want to do something different today. I want to tell you about my story. I'm going to let this run. I'm not going to edit it, well, as little as possible. I want to move away from all of the edited type of videos. And they just feel, for me, they feel a little bit unnatural when they're kind of too edited. So I want to break away from that, and I need to learn to talk a little bit better on camera anyway. So this is the perfect way to do that. Now, my hope for this video is that it finds someone who is in the position that I was in, 20, 25 years ago, or it finds someone where I was at 5 years ago, and watch till the end. It's probably going to be a little bit longer than my normal video. I think my longest video so far is only like 18 minutes. Obviously, I'm still getting used to talking on camera and stuff like that. So stick around to the end, because I'm going to weave all of this into self-improvement and how it's really helped me. I was born in Farnham Hospital in Kent, 1982. My dad was in prison while I was born. My mum raised us alone for the first few years of my life, and I met my dad for the first time I can remember when I was like 4 years old. He brought me and my brother these little He-Man figures. The first time I met him, I'll never forget. It was one of the first times, it was the first time in my life I remember crying with joy. There's only a few times in my life where I felt that, and I'll talk more about those later on in the video. But yeah, so my dad was in prison when I was born. It was just me and my brother, and my mum was living at my granddad's house in Orpington. My dad's from Highbury. My mum is from around that area, Orpington and Kent. All my cousins grew up on one of the fucking roughest estates you'll ever know of. It's not there anymore. It's been knocked down, but it's called the Ferrier Estate in Sidcup. You can look that up. It's quite a mad place. But my parents moved me and my brother away down to Brighton when I was 5 years old. And that was when they got married. And then pretty much lived in Brighton ever since. I've come and gone a few times. I've moved abroad. I've, nearly moved to Scotland, nearly moved to Holland. But yeah, I've always come back to Brighton. So this is my home. Basically, this is where where I was raised. I'm a Brighton boy, as they say, Brighton lad. Growing up in our house, my dad was extremely aggressive. It was a sort of, you couldn't, you weren't allowed to speak at the dinner table. If you did, you got a fucking big smack around the back of the head or a really hard fucking flick on the ear. My mum was a lot softer, but my dad was really fucking militant and, really aggressive. Sorry, I want to say, before I talk, delve into some of these things, my parents are my fucking heroes. My absolute fucking heroes. Like, I love them to death, and my brother as well. There's a couple of things that I'm not going to talk about. For those people that really know me will know what they are, but the only reason I'm not going to talk about them is for love of the people that could be affected if they were to ever hear it. I don't know how many people this is going to reach in the long run, so yeah, I'll be holding back a couple of things, and that is to protect the ones that I love so that they don't get hurt. Okay, so my dad was extremely aggressive. Okay, we were fucking petrified of him, basically. He was a fucking 21 stone mammoth. He was a fucking beast of a man. He was, all of his friends were scared shitless of him. He was like, he was the type of guy everyone respected. Like, everyone respected my dad. He was well known. And, that had, the way that he was had its benefits. Do you know what I mean? I felt a lot of protection. And, You know, I really looked up to and admire my dad, even though sometimes I felt like he hated me, do you know what I mean? Or he hated us. And I didn't think he loved me, you know. Looking back, you know, I'm really, really thankful for the way that my dad raised me. And I think a lot of people lack that sternness in this day and age. But then it was, you know, it was a normal thing. If you got the fucking slipper, or you got the cane, or you got a fucking hard backhand or a punch, do you know what I mean? It was pretty regular, to be honest. It was that time. It was like, you know, late 80s, early 90s when I was, you know, in that time. It was a normal thing for parents to fucking hit their kids. It was pretty normal. You know, there's nothing really outrageous about that. Lots of people had it, you know, had it hard in the household. It's just the way that it was. And to be honest, me and my brother, you know, at times we needed it. At times we needed it. We would push buttons, and we, you know, we needed it. That's the long and the short of it. You know, my brother was my best friend growing up because, you know, dad was the way that he was. And, you know, we had each other's backs. We spent a lot of time together in the bedroom because we'd get sent to the room all the time and shit like that. So we had each other's backs, and because it was so fucking hard in the house, we learned to have fun. Do you know what I mean? Everything was a joke with my brother, and you know, we had to learn to piss about, because if you didn't, you know, it was a fucking depressing time to be alive, really. You know, you're sent to your room all the time. You know, it's just a fucking, it was hard, you know, it was really fucking hard. So my brother was my best friend. Going into school, like primary school, obviously growing up in a house that was like so aggressive, you learn to fight and you learn hostility from a young age. So like it was natural to feel angry and you know, want to lash out a little bit. Sorry guys, the dogs were kicking off. I had to go down and sort them out. Where was I? Talking about primary school. Yeah, it was normal to you know, it was normal for me to lash out and you know, misbehave, get into trouble. I was always fighting at school. That was my thing. I wasn't really pissing about so much. I was fighting all the time. And yeah, my mum and dad, they were smoking weed at that time. You know, drinking all the time, but that was just normal. I didn't think anything of it. At that time, it's just, you know, lots of people, there was always people coming around with like, you know, nicked shit or like fucking stuff, you know, they would come around and sell stuff. My dad was, he was signed off on the sick because he fell out the back of a plane. He used to unload planes at Gatwick Airport. And yeah, he was signed off on sick. He was, you know, registered disabled. My mum at that time was working at Legal in General. She was like quite good with numbers, my mum. But yeah, they were smoking, you know, smoking weed all the time, drinking all the time. That's just the way that it was. And that sort of had an effect. You know, you start to think, because your parents are doing things, obviously I'm not blaming my mum and dad for anything, do you know what I mean? I'm a big boy, I made all my own decisions myself. No one fucking held a gun to my head. But because, you know, I think because they were doing things, it was seen for me as normal. So like when I was like 10, 11, you know, me and my brother would like nick fucking big bits of hash or like weed or whatever. There was no weed really at that time. Like everyone was just fucking smoking hash. It's like we used to nick bits of hash like when they went out of the house, and like we'd be fucking trying to skin up really shitty joints and like getting stoned for like the first time and stuff like that. So yeah, I was fighting all the time at school, getting into trouble. I got kicked out of my first primary school. My second primary school, I didn't get kicked out, but I was getting into a lot of trouble there. Ended up went into secondary school. By this point, I had long hair. Basically, my dad never let me cut my hair. I think it's because he was bald and he wanted, I don't know why, but basically I was not allowed to get a fucking haircut, so I was the only kid really that had fucking long hair. So I used to get a lot of fucking shit for that, and I'd end up fighting with people all the time. They used to, kids at school like fucking bellends, everyone, myself included. But I was fighting all the time in secondary school. Was getting, starting to get stoned, but very rarely, sort of thing. It was basically just stealing it off my mum and dad. I wasn't like smoking with friends or anything like that at that point. It was like 11, 12. My brother was much like me, but he didn't fight much. He was more getting into trouble, and like his tolerance for risk. My tolerance for risk is pretty fucking high. Do you know what I mean? But his was fucking off the charts. He'd just do the fucking wildest shit. And he was like drinking and stuff like that in those times as well. He was a couple of years older than me. He was like 13, 14. So I was getting into a lot of trouble. I wasn't non-academic, like I would say. I was quite bright, if I had to say, judging myself, but I just didn't really want to learn what the school system was teaching. I didn't, I don't know, maybe it's because of how shit things were at home. So my parents, they did provide for us really well, to the point where, we lived in a normal street in the suburbs, just on the edge of an estate. The kids in our street used to think that we were rich, like that's how well my parents provided for us. But I think it was just, all the aggression in the house that was leading to us acting up, and maybe, my parents smoking weed and stuff like that obviously had an obvious effect. So getting into secondary school, ended up getting kicked out of secondary school in year 10. I was wrongly accused of sexual harassment. So I'm going to have to talk about this, because otherwise you just say, oh yeah, all right, of course you were wrongly accused. But basically what happened was, like before, if you had PE, like before your lunch break or whatever, you keep your PE stuff on and you run straight to the canteen so you get to the front of the queue. Well, one day that was me. I was running straight from PE to the canteen, and there's this girl called Rachel, and she fucking pulled my trousers down in front of everyone, like really fucking embarrassed me. And so obviously, holding a bit of a grudge, 2 or 3 weeks went by, and she came to the canteen in her PE stuff. She just run straight from PE. So I waited for her to get to the front of the queue, and then I fucking pulled her trackies down in front of everyone. And she then basically spun that into some sort of fucking sexual harassment thing, said she didn't feel comfortable with me being at the school and all this other shit. Got her mum and her uncle involved, who was a police officer. And so I ended up getting kicked out of that school for fucking sexual harassment. And that really fucking fucked me up at the time, because they treated me like a fucking rapist. And shit being how it was anyway, things at home, school was not going well. School's hard anyway, do you know what I mean? You got enough going through your fucking head at 14, 15 years old. Then that happens, and obviously, I got kicked out of school. I couldn't get into another school in Brighton without psychological assessment. So my parents, they paid for me to go to a private school for my last year. And my brother at that time, when I was like 15, he was into crime. He was out, fucking doing robberies and shit like that. I mean, we'd done little bits before, like we was, you get nicked motorbikes and shit like that, and we fucking ride them around on the park and like nick mopeds and stuff like that. But other than just general kid shit, there was not much going on, but my brother was a little different. He was, getting more into nicking and robbing and, doing drugs as well. And he ended up moving out when I was 15. And before long, he was in jail. And I believe after going to visit him, do you know what I mean, that he was smoking heroin at that time as well. My parents, I can't blame it on my brother, because my brother was just living life. But when he went to prison, my mum and dad got more heavily involved in drugs. And, it was not uncommon for thousands of ecstasy pills to be in my house, shitloads of fucking weed, mounds of cocaine like this fucking big. Drugs just fucking took over. And in a sense, my best friend was gone. He was gone to prison. Things were really fucking hard then. My mum and dad were getting fucked up all the time. Mum was crying all the time, and things just got a little bit mad. And basically, one day I was in my room just minding my own business. I can't remember what I was doing. I was into like DJing and stuff like that at that time. I used to be into like hip hop and shit like that, and like scratch DJing. So I'd always be in my room just like cutting up. And I get a knock on my bedroom door, and my mum and dad called me downstairs, and they had a fucking huge amount of cocaine on the table, and my dad was racking up lines, and they basically offered me, thought it was a good idea. This video is going to be a bit more edited than I want. The dogs keep kicking off. Fucking people walking past the house, doing my fucking head in. Where was I? My parents thought it would be a good idea to give me cocaine. Do you know what I mean? So from that point, I think at this time I was, 16, 17. And, that's when my love affair with drugs like really, really began. Obviously, I was a stoner like before that with my friends, smoking joints and fucking bongs and shit like that, like on a daily basis. But this just sent me like full tilt, I guess. My brother was away in prison. He ended up doing a few years. And it was just mental in my house then. My parents were sort of known as like the cool parents. Like all my friends would come around to my house to get fucked up because it was like anything goes sort of thing. I'd go out clubbing and like come back with girls and stuff, and my parents would be more fucked than what I was. It was mad. It was really fucking mad. So that's where my love affair with cocaine really began. And from there, really, it was a fucking downward spiral to the fullest degree. I ended up having a huge row with my mum and dad one day, and I ended up knocking out my dad. And I don't recommend doing that for anyone. It's probably one of the worst feelings I've ever felt in my life. This guy, who I look up to and admire, and fucking knocking him out cold. I didn't just knock him down, like I fully knocked him out cold. And it was not a good feeling. So from then I moved out, and just got fully deeper into drugs. I've done all sorts of shit in that time. I mean, I say that time, this time spanned over like 25 years where I was a drug addict. And I was fucked every single day. Like I was high on something every single day for 25 years. And, in that time, I've slept in abandoned buildings and squats. I'd sofa surfed for years. You know, I sold drugs, I sold all kinds of drugs. Um, I'd done crime, I'd done lots of fucking shit that I really regret. One of the maddest things I've done, I guess, was I camped out in a nightclub because I knew someone who worked there, and this person didn't know I was going to do this, but I knew because of their position, I knew where the safe keys were. So one night I camped out in this nightclub and I was completely alone. I camped out in there, waited for everyone to leave, and then broke into the office, fucking scrambling around for these safe keys. Couldn't fucking find them. Couldn't believe it. And I ended up just fucking grabbing a laptop, whatever I could, and I had to break out of the club. Do you know what I mean? Because I was fucking locked and bolted in, so I had to find a way to fucking break out. Your heart's fucking racing, do you know what I mean? Because I could hear all the people cleaning up and stuff like that, and my heart was just going nuts. And I remember that fucking tense feeling. But yeah, broke out, ended up fucking selling the laptop for like 3.5 bags of fucking coke. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Like, I could have gone to prison for so fucking long for that. I mean, I've narrowly avoided prison a few times. My brother had been, you know, he'd been in and out several times, really. A few times, I think 3 or 4 times my brother's gone in. He's done about 5 or 6 years total. Yeah, obviously my dad was in prison when I was born, so, you know, that's one of the things I've had to learn to overcome, is those things that are so ingrained in you. Do you know what I mean? Those ways of life, drugs and fucking violence and crime. And you know, for me to break out of the mold that was made for me, yeah, I've had to not be a drug addict, not go to prison, not fucking beat everyone up every 5 seconds. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm getting off track. So yeah, it was just, you know, it was a very, very dark time. Do you know what I mean? It was, you know, times I got right down to, I was like a fucking stick. Do you know what I mean? I'm not exactly big now, but you know, I was half the size of what I am now, easily, you know. When I first met my wife, so this period of, you know, drug use, binging, homelessness, crime, violence, all just continued for 20, 25 years, I'd say. You know, there's a lot of shit that happened in that time. I had a cool bunch of friends as well, growing up, like, all very similar to me. Do you know what I mean? A few of them had alcoholic mums, a couple of them didn't have their dads. You know, all of us sort of had shit going on at home, and I think that was one of the things that kept us all together. You know, we had so much fun growing up, and although I don't hang out with those guys anymore, like, I always hug them when I see them. I've always got a place in my heart for them. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it was at that, you know, at the end of this kind of time that I met my wife, and we was just on a night out. I was with a few of my friends. She was with a couple of her friends, and she had not long before. I mean, at this point, she had 3 kids already. She's got an older son, 2 girls, and their dad had killed himself like a year previous. He fucking jumped off of a cliff. So my wife, she was, you know, she had a year where she went off the rails, and I was really, you know, I was really fucked up at that point. And I think, again, stitching that into why I had such a close bond with my friends growing up, I think when me and my wife met, we sort of needed each other. It was a really fucked up time for both of us. And so we just, you know, we hit it off when we met straight away. But I didn't think anything of it at that time. Like, I didn't think, you know, people say love at first sight and shit like that. I didn't feel like that at all. Like, I just thought she was hot, and I tried to pull her. She didn't let me kiss her. She gave me her number. I didn't call her for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then called her. We went out, had a wicked time, and then from then we just hit it off, you know. And then things just snowballed. into the marriage that we have now. But obviously, I want to talk about my relationships real quick, because obviously being a fucking drug addict and other things that had happened, I was not a good partner. Do you know what I mean? I was not a good friend, and I was not a solid partner. I was unfaithful to every single girl that I've ever been with, apart from my wife, every single one. You know, I was not a good friend. I was a piece of shit. I was not very good to be around. And I was a bit of a live wire that could just snap at any point. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't really have a lot of trust in people. So it just made sense to be that way. I had very fuck the world. Do you know what I mean? Fuck this, fuck that, fuck everything. This is how it is. So that was how I was. And obviously when I met my wife and being together, and when you start being with someone, all of those things from my past and my childhood, they're all still there. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, people talk about doing shadow work and stuff like that. You really do have to fucking, at some point, if you're anything like me, you have to correct these fucking things. You have to work on these issues, or they're going to be on you for your whole fucking life. And so yeah, I didn't, even though she had kids, do you know what I mean? Maybe they're going to watch this one day, I don't know. But, you know, it was a messy time. And even though she had kids, all those drug addict things and tendencies, they don't just evaporate just because there's kids in the picture. People think, I've heard people before saying, oh, when I have kids, I want to stop and sort myself out. But you don't. It's very fucking hard to do that. And you don't just stop. As much as you want to, you can't just do it, because these things are so fucking ingrained in you. It's impossible to just flip the switch and just stop just because there's someone else involved. Do you know what I mean? When you're a drug addict, you don't give a fuck about anybody else. You don't care about other people's feelings. Do you know what I mean? You just don't. All you care about is how you're going to get fucked up for that day, you know? Or how you're going to get money so you can get fucked up for that day. So seeing past all of that, you know, other points in my life, you know, I've lost friends growing up. One guy we used to play basketball with, I was really good at basketball. I forgot to mention that. Like boxing and basketball. Got into boxing when I was like 10 or 11 because obviously I was fighting. My dad made me go to the boxing gym. It was the same boxing gym that Chris Eubank trained at, and Scott Welsh, who was in Snatch, and now he trains the amateurs there. But at that time he was just, I think he was just turning pro. Like he used to come down with like a shell suit on. Like I remember the car he drove and everything. But so yeah, I was really good at boxing and basketball. So I've got off topic now. I had lost friends. One guy who we used to play basketball with, he hung himself. Another guy I was friends with, he got impaled in a fucking car accident, got his head taken off. You know, a few other people I'd grown up with, you know, had got into drugs. Some people had overdosed. You know, another guy who I was really, really close friends with. You know, we spent a lot of time together. I met him, I was probably about 21, and he was younger than me, he was 16. So like, he used to look up to me a lot, and like we'd hang around all the time. But like, he ended up dying of a drug overdose as well. And this was someone that we used to use drugs together and stuff like that. Fucking steroids, do you know what I mean? We were just having fun all the time. It was like we were enablers for each other, and we were just fucking proper bros, do you know what I mean? We had each other's backs. But like, we would use drugs together all the time because we worked together. You know, it was just a standard thing. And at that point, I'd worked as a chef, you know, for a number of years, and I'd branched out and got my own food franchises, and a couple of them were doing really well. I mean, I was running like 4 or 5 kitchens at one point, and like staffing them out with people and stuff like that. So you know, I was doing really well in terms of money, but the problem was, you know, I was making like, you know, £2 grand a week take home, and the problem is that I was fucking sniffing most of it in gear. And I was doing so much. It was, you know, normal. I'd be doing like 4 or 5 bags a day. And then, so I could come home and appear normal, um, I'd take a fucking shitload of Valium so I could come down a little bit and people at home wouldn't realise that I was fucked, basically. And so that went on for fucking months and months and months. I was getting fucked every day, taking shitloads of Valium, coming home, and I was still training and going to the gym and stuff like that. But obviously the drug life was more prevalent. And my son had been born at these times. I think my son was about 3 years old then. And yeah, one day I'd got like pains in my chest, but I didn't think anything of it. Another week went by, things were carrying on as they were, and I was in the bed one night and I fucking woke up, I had crushing pains in my chest, like crushing pains. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. It was an excruciating pain, like it went on for about probably like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just excruciating, crushing pains in my chest. And they'll tell you this, but when you have like heart attacks, the only way you relieve the pain is when you turn over, so you're sort of facing down, and it hurts a tiny little bit less, but it still fucking hurts. And my wife was like, oh, call the ambulance. I was like, no, because obviously I didn't want to fucking get caught out for fucking doing drugs. And I didn't want her to know what was going on. But eventually, she was like, call an ambulance. And I was in so much fucking pain. I was like, okay, fuck it, let's get an ambulance, because I didn't know what was happening. And ended up, it came out, I'd had a heart attack, basically. And my son was in the bed, like, next to me. If my wife hadn't been there, I'd probably be fucking dead, to be honest. Because, as men, like, we don't fucking listen, do we? We don't, when someone says, oh, go to the doctor, it's just like, yeah, whatever, it's not fucking, I'm all right. So I'll always be grateful for her. I'm just fucking grateful to have her in my life, because if she wasn't there at that specific time, or if she didn't fucking nag me to call the ambulance, and just, if I said, oh, I'm all right, and she just went back to sleep, do you know what I mean? I would be fucking dead, without a shadow of a doubt. Or it's very highly likely that I'd be dead. So yeah, that was, that was the height of my drug use, I'd say. But it didn't finish there. When I came out of hospital the next day, you'd think, oh, you just had a fucking heart attack. That would really fucking shock you. But the next day when my wife went out, I got 2 bags fucking dropped off to the house. Do you know what I mean? My fucking kids were here as well. It was like just fucking disgusting behaviour. Like, I'm so ashamed of it. But it's just one of those, I don't really say it's one of those fucking things. It's not one of those things. Like, fucking disgusting behaviour. I'm fully ashamed of the hold that it had on me, and the lack of fucking care and the lack of thought. And my friend, the one I told you about, was the OD, do you know what I mean? I'd been to his funeral, I saw his little kids crying, they're never going to see their dad again. And I think that was after, it was after my heart attack, he passed away, because he taunted me when I had my heart attack. He was like, oh, it's just a little heart attack, come on, let's go. And so yeah, after my friend passed away, it was at those times, things I started to realise and become more aware that I was completely fucked, basically, and that no matter how hard I've tried to stop or try to slow things down, or you substitute one drug for another, it doesn't really work. I mean, I'd got back into boxing at this time. So, my love for boxing is one thing that is one of the things that helped me, because I loved it so much. I still love it so much. But it's the sort, do you know what I mean? Like, when you train for a fight, you can't fucking really half step. So like, you have to, I'm just like that anyway. Like, everything I've ever done, like, I've been really fucking obsessive over. So like I'm like, my foot is either to the fucking floor or I'm just not doing anything. Do you know what I mean? So boxing is like something I really take seriously when I'm doing it. So I'd be training like 2 or 3 times a day sometimes for a fight. So like obviously, and my love for that sort of took over a little bit of drugs and stuff like that, because I wanted to perform better when I was fighting. So I would, you know, I'd stop doing everything for like 3 months, and then I'd have my fight. Straight after the fight, I'd be in the fucking cubicle sniffing loads of coke, and then you sort of create that sort of, you know, yo-yo effect in fitness and well-being and whatnot. So although the boxing helped me and training helped me to you know, compartmentalize my drug use, when I started again it was fucking worse than it was before, you know. So yeah, it was still an ongoing fight at that time. And you know, it was coming and going. I was getting better. I'd stopped smoking weed and stuff like that, smoking the bare minimum. But occasionally I'd still be using coke, and when I did, I'd be fucking, you know, I'd fucking spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds on it. I'd be disappearing from my wife and shit like that. And it was a couple years ago. Obviously, there's loads of shit that's gonna. I'll probably watch this back and be like, oh, I didn't say that and didn't say that. But like, I'm just trying to summarize the whole fucking thing so you can kind of get a picture for what's happening. So yeah, a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, you know, I realized, you know, basically I knew that I had to change. Like, really too late in the game, I had to fucking change. I've not got to where I wanted to be. Like, you know, when you're younger and you know, you have this fucking mad vision of like, not that I've ever really had it, to be honest. I never really cared. But you know, you have some sort of expectancy maybe of what life might be like, or how it should be, and fucking objects that you should have acquired by the time you're 30 or 40. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't have any of that. I was just, you know, it all fucking hit home that you just fucked everything. You just fucking ruined everything. Every single relationship, every job, every fucking opportunity squandered, you know, and it's not a fucking good feeling. So I was like, right, I'm changing, basically. And I ended up staying sober for like 2 years, like no drink or drugs or anything at all. And then it got to my birthday one year, and someone suggested that, oh, why don't you get a bag in? It's your birthday, it's a little treat, you deserve it. So that's what happened. I ended up getting fucked one year on my birthday, and then from then, drug use, you know, it sort of like started again like the week after for like a day, and then it'd be 2 days after that or 3 days after that, you're getting another bag in, and then before you know it, you're picking up every fucking day. You're you know, you try cutting down, you're like, oh, I just get a little 20s, and then you're going back for 20s, a 20s, a 20s every single day. Do you know what I mean? And before I knew it, I was fucked again. I went to my wife's work do. I bought loads of gear and I just fucking ended up disappearing. And it was, I don't know what happened, but that night I made a fucking realization that I was fucked. I was like, I can't fucking do this. I can't live. You know, there've been times throughout my life where, like, I don't want to say, do you know what I mean? I mean, I thought about fucking killing myself. Do you know what I mean? Because I just didn't know what the fucking point was. You know, I had so much emotional fucking angst and like pain. You know, it had crossed my mind a few times to just fucking end it. Do you know what I mean? But you know, I didn't really want to do that, but I didn't really want to live either. Do you know what I mean? I was fucking barely existing. Like I wouldn't even call it existing. And I knew at that time that I was completely fucked. And my brother, he had been on his own journey as well with drinking drugs, do you know what I mean? But he was a bit more fucking hardcore, and crime and shit like that was a lot more prevalent for him, do you know what I mean? Obviously, you know, prison, I think, had an effect on him. And, you know, he'd been using like crack and heroin for like 20 years. And it just so happens that this time he had moved back from Tenerife. He moved away for a while, he came back. And he broke his arm in a fight over there, and he was like self-medicating, and then he started using heroin again. And he was really fucking like scared the shit out of me to see him the way that I saw him. And I was on at him for ages to fucking, you know, get into rehab or get some help, because I was fucking scared that I would kick the door in his flat one day, because he wouldn't answer the phone. Like, you wouldn't be able to get hold of him. He was just in his fucking house, like shooting up and smoking crack, like all day, every fucking day. And I was scared that one day I'd, you know, have to kick his fucking flat door in and he'd just be dead there with a fucking needle in his arm. So, you know, I decided, and I told my wife that I'm gonna fucking sort my shit out and I'm gonna, you know, get help. And I thought it'd be a good idea for my brother to come with me as well, and we can sort of be support for each other in, like, you know, drug groups or whatever. I didn't know anything about it at this time. I only knew about Cocaine Anonymous through a friend that I'd worked with, a good friend of mine still to this day. His name's Mark, and he's the one who told me all about Cocaine Anonymous. And if it wasn't for knowing him, it's mad. Like, it's mad when you look back and when you have a bit of clarity, because you can see all of these little coincidences that just seemed like complete fucking random events at the time, like completely life-changing, when you do get time to reflect on them. Like, you know, I don't believe in fate. Like, I think you make your own fucking path at the end of the day, and you are in total control when you're taking care of yourself, that is, you know. But some of, you know, some of these things felt like fucking destiny, do you know what I mean? It's mad. So yeah, I ended up joining a Cocaine Anonymous fellowship, and my brother came with me for the first time. He was like, thank you so much for getting me to calm, and like, we were feeling really good about things. But my brother didn't come back to the meeting. He didn't come back to the meetings after that. So I was like in there on my own. And you know, I talk about self-improvement on this channel, but I'm going to do a video about the 12 steps for sure. But you know, it's for me, it's like basically the fucking ultimate self-improvement program. But obviously there's no gym involved in it. But in terms of like working on yourself and going to war with yourself and uncovering and talking about stuff that's happened to you and why you use drugs, how you use them, and being around other people that, even though are completely different to you, have so many fucking similarities. Like, it's crazy. Like, it helped me so much. And I felt, because when you're out there in addiction, you know, you feel alone. You feel completely fucking alone. You're trapped in your own head. You know, you think you're the only fucking one who feels this way. Do you know what I mean? Which is not fucking true. I met like countless amazing people being in recovery, and I fully recommend, if you are struggling with drugs, to seek out a fellowship. You know, there's many. You've got Narcotics Anonymous, you've got Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous. I think there's Marijuana Anonymous. Whatever you're struggling with, you can find a group of people who are like-minded, who want to live without drugs. I used to think, you know, it was completely fucking normal for me to be an addict. That's the thing. It was, you know, it was almost genetic. I don't believe in that, but it was handed to me on a fucking plate. Do you know what I mean? It's completely normal, really ingrained in my psyche. So like, I did not know how to live without drugs. And I was, like I said, I was high every single day for 25 years. And joining the fellowship has given me my fucking life back. And I've met other cool, like-minded people who want to live without drugs, you know. And I can't really sing its praises enough. Like, it's had just a massive effect since I've done it. I mean, there's other things that are tied into this as well, like my own self-improvement and things that I've done. And but all in all, with that as well, which adds, like, there's a spiritual element to it. You know, it's not about Jesus, or, you know, I've met Muslims and Sikhs in recovery. Do you know what I mean? Fucking Christians and atheists. Do you know what I mean? That you learn to have. There is a spiritual element to it, and I think that is the magic behind it. Really, is there's so many awesome things to it, but you know, that's where I learned about service as well, and doing shit to other people, doing shit for other people, and that's had a massive effect as well. And it's one of the reasons why I'm making this video right now, because there's times where once you've gone through so much time in recovery, and you've gone through so many steps, you can take on jobs or whatever and go to help other people. And one job I had, I wouldn't call it a fucking job, it's a service position, for a meeting that I went to. It was in the hospital. So, like, we get to go around the wards and you find people that are just fucked, do you know what I mean? And they really need fucking help. Some, they want help, and some, they just don't. So you get the opportunity to bring these people to their first meeting, or back to a meeting if they've been before, and give them help. And it made me feel really fucking good. So that's, when I felt that feeling, I was like, oh, it's like, this feels really fucking good. Not just for me in like a selfish way, but it just I don't know, it's hard to describe. You have to get into it. And when you start doing things for other people, it's like, feels like this is what I need to be doing. This is what I need to be doing more of, like helping other people and not giving a fuck about what I need. And I mean, obviously I still have my selfish wants and my desires and things like that, and, you know, bills that need paying, all that other shit. But once I've started to try and help other people wherever I can, everything else has just improved. And obviously, not being a drug addict anymore, being sober, all of my relationships have improved. Like, every relationship. You know, I'm not amazing at talking on camera or in public, but one of the things, going to these meetings has really helped me to fucking come out of my shell and be able to talk about things more openly. You know, it takes fucking balls to talk about your history and your past with either your sponsor or with people in the meetings, with no shame and no guilt. Do you know what I mean? And there's no judgment in these rooms anyway. Everyone is in there, you know, although most of them are complete strangers, you've all gone through a lot of the same things. So it's really helped me to you know, communicate a lot better. You know, the era that I grew up in was not normal for men to be able to communicate, and I think that's you know, that's become the norm now. And why I think men suffer so much with mental health is because it's not considered normal for men to be able to communicate properly, you know, and articulate the way they feel about things, because people don't give a fuck how you feel as a man anyway. Do you know what I mean? But that said, it doesn't mean that we don't have feelings. I don't want to sound like a fucking bitch or anything, but it's true. So it's really helped me massively with that. Obviously, I've got more money now than I've ever had. And things, you know, things are really taking off. We've got, I mean, it's unfortunate how it came about, but we've got a holiday home now in Florida, which is just getting renovated. We've had to find out how to obtain a loan in America and shit like that. I mean, we only got the house because my wife's mum died through alcohol abuse, funnily enough. It was when, because my wife's brother died as well of a drug overdose, and basically her mum has been, you know, you know, she was scarred like ever since. You imagine what it's like to lose a child. Do you know what I mean? It would fucking break me. I don't know what I would do. But she turned to alcohol, so that's one of the things I think, you know, it's become a real part of my life to, you know, it's like been a fucking a quest for redemption. Do you know what I mean? To overcome all of these things and go against the grain of what I was shown. When you see all of these things like friends dying, fucking my parents being addicts for years and selling drugs and doing crime, my wife's brother dying, he died in hospital, but he was there for heroin overdose. He died because of drugs. You know, her mum died through alcohol. You know, my mum is really ill now and got COPD, thought from alcohol, you know. So it's like everything's fucking staring me in the face. Do you know what I mean? I need to overcome these things. Otherwise, what's to say it's not going to fucking trickle down to my kids? Do you know what I mean? So I made a decision to knock everything on the head. This shit fucking stops with me. The buck stops with me. You know, I'm determined to change not only my own career path, my path through life, you know, as a human being, but my kids as well. My wife still drinks alcohol, but you know, I think it's important for me to show the balance to my kids so that, you know, they can see that people can live without alcohol, you know, because let's face it, it's fucking pushed on you from a young age with like Christmases and birthdays and whatnot when you're 14. I know I don't know about you, but it was a normal thing to give your kids alcohol at Christmas. Personally now, you know I'm soapboxing because obviously I'm sober, but I think it's fucking mental. Why would you give a child a substance, you know, that affects you so negatively? I can't think of anything fucking worse, you know. So that's why I feel the way I do now about drugs and alcohol, you know. Obviously, since I've been getting sober, I've really been working on my self-improvement. I'm going to the gym, you know, I've been boxing again. Other things that I've done and learned about on the way, and, you know, I used to watch a lot of YouTube. And, you know, I've found some self-improvement guys, obviously, along the way, people like Hamza and First Man. I think Danko's really good, but he's going a bit more down the sales route at the moment. I think Hamza might be doing that as well. I mean, it's fine to sell things, don't get me wrong, you've got to make some fucking money, but, you know, the reasons why I joined them to begin with was more along, you know, self-improvement, more to do with self-improvement. And, you know, so I've learnt about in my time, I've been reading a lot of books as well over the last probably 3 years. Downloaded a Kindle app, but I prefer physical books, to be honest. I don't know why. I think it's because the physical books are just, you want to hold it. It's a bit like when music went from like physical to fucking downloads. Do you know what I mean? It's not the same as having a fucking archive of records there. Do you know what I mean? You know, when you go around to someone's house and like you can see like fucking 300 books, you think, oh, okay, but do you know what I mean? Doesn't have the same effects with a Kindle app. But I just prefer a physical book. I like sitting down with it in my hand, holding it. So like reading lots of fucking different books, like success books, self-help books, you know. And I wouldn't recommend going down just that rabbit hole. You get what they call paralysis analysis, or analysis paralysis, where you're just fucking taking in loads of information, you're not actually doing anything, you just fucking, you think you are, you think you're being active, but you're not, you're just fucking, you're absorbing information, but you're not actually using it, putting it into practice, which is not where you want to be. You want to be able to execute on things. So other things that have helped me, obviously exercise. Like I train 6 days a week. It makes me feel good. It has a massive impact on my mental and physical well-being. I say that, I swear, in every video, mental and physical well-being, but it does. I meditate every day. I either do like a 12-minute meditation after my heavy weight training that I do 3 times a week, or I do like a 15-minute meditation after my boxing. But either way, I'm doing that at least 6 days a week. My diet, I'm eating really clean. Like, I think, you know, out of 21 meals in a week, like, I'm willing to sacrifice one of them, one cheat meal. That's it. Do you know what I mean? And it has a massive effect on you. But other than that, obviously, I've become more spiritual and joining the program. So, like, I can't really, you know, this is not like a spiritual channel by any sense. It is a self-improvement channel. But you know, I feel like, you know, being spiritual, having that element to you, is something that is going to mature in you as you get older. You're gonna, you know, I feel like every person that is like intelligent and will think about things and be inquisitive about life, do you know what I mean? You should eventually find spirituality. It doesn't mean you have to go to church all the time or the mosque all the time, but you should be willing to give a portion of yourself to that, to faith, you know. Don't get me wrong, I consider myself almost like an atheist, you know, but for me, the spirituality just, it puts everything on an even keel. Self-improvement helps me feel good. Spirituality evens me out. Life just fucking bounces off me now, do you know what I mean? I'm really like, really chilled, really relaxed. You know, I'm not angry at my parents. I love them to fucking death. Like, I do anything for my parents. They're my heroes. You know, my brother, he's clean now as well. He's been clean almost a year. You know, everything's better than it's ever been. And it's only down to self-improvement. Being sober and spirituality, really, they're my fucking, it's like the trifecta. Do you know what I mean? With all of those things, all encompass. I don't know if I use that in the right context, but that is what keeps me grounded. And yeah, I guess that's a brief summary of my life. There's lots of other shit that has happened along the way, obviously, and lots of things I'm probably sure I'm going to forget about, but that's why self-improvement is so fucking important to me. Spirituality is so important to me, and being sober is super, super important to me. You know, again, if you are in the stage where I was growing up, where you're in an aggressive house, or you've got wild shit that's happening around you, you're going to be okay. You are going to be okay. Okay, if you've got good intentions. And I hope that you don't go down a road that's too negative, because once you do, it's very fucking hard to come back. So hold on to your integrity and good intentions. Don't listen to other people. Make your own mind up. Be yourself always. And to anyone that is maybe where I was 5 years ago and completely fucked on drugs, you're not alone. Okay, there's help out there, and I implore you to reach out. There's nothing wrong with reaching out for help if you need it. Okay, you need to realize that it's okay to do that, and it's okay to need help, and you can't do everything alone all the time. Self-reliance is amazing, but some things you just can't do alone, and you don't have to do it alone.